Let me start over. First, thanks for attending our luncheon. And I just wanted to say I've been remiss in not mentioning our sponsor for the last few luncheons. Albrecht and Albrecht Law Firm's been supporting this luncheon for several years now. And so if you need legal help, please think about calling Albrecht and Albrecht. Our program today will feature two speakers. First will be Jessica Matlock, the CEO of La Plata Electric Association, who will discuss the many things that are going on at LPEA. And second will be Monique DiGiorgio, along with Nan Penzreuter, who will bring us up to date on the progress that's been made to bring down health insurance premiums in our area. So a little bit of administrative stuff here. Everyone is asked to stay muted, except for the speakers, myself, and Karen Pontius, who will be handling questions. If you want to submit a question while either speaker is talking, please use the chat feature on Zoom. So there's a chat window. Just type your question in there and make sure you send it to everyone, which is typically the default choice. Also, if you're having trouble with your internet connectivity, you may want to disable your video. Audio only works better on slow connections. And so you can click on the video button until it shows a red line through the button. This Zoom meeting is being recorded and it'll be available within a few days for viewing. You can also choose speaker mode, typically in the upper right corner, which will bring up a larger video of the person who's speaking at the time. Also, while the La Plata County Democrats are okay on funds for now, some of our biggest fundraisers have had to be canceled due to the pandemic. So I would encourage everyone to donate to the county party. Monthly donations are particularly appreciated so that we can kind of see where the money's coming in. And obviously this is a very important election and we all know that it takes money to win elections. We're only a month away from the general election. Volunteers are needed and many Democratic candidates still need donations. So I think we have a huge opportunity here if we just step up and fight. And if anyone else has any announcements to make, please enter something in the chat window and we'll recognize you at the end of the luncheon. So I'm going to introduce Jessica. Jessica is the CEO of La Plata Electric Association, LPEA, a utility in Colorado and its first female CEO in the company's 80-year history. Under her leadership, Jessica is helping LPEA transition to a clean energy company and a utility of the future. Prior to this role, Jessica served as a member of the executive leadership team at the nation's 11th largest public utility from 2006 to 2019. Her last role was serving as the Assistant General Manager of Customer, Energy Services, and External Relations, where she was responsible for directing the customer engagement, legislative and policy strategy for the company, and developing and implementing the utility's solar, electric vehicle, and demand response programs. Prior to this, Jessica worked as an energy expert for the U.S. Senate and also held a number of positions with the Bonneville Power Administration, which is one of the U.S.'s power marketing administrations. Jessica served on various board and leadership positions for the Large Public Power Council, National Hydropower Association, American Public Power Association, the Alliance to Save Energy, Washington State Clean Technology Alliance, and Smart Grid Northwest. Jessica has also testified and advised the U.S. Congress and the executive branch on renewable energy and cybersecurity challenges related to the electric grid. So that's quite a resume there, and let's please welcome Jessica Matlock.
Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here. Okay, so is it okay to share my screen?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So the host has to enable me to share my screen.
All right, hang on a second and I'll do that. Carol, can you make Jessica a co-host? I'm not seeing where I can do it.
Okay, that worked. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yes, but it's not. Okay, there you go. Now it's full screen.
Okay, and is that the full screen? We had some issues this
Yeah.
morning.
Yes, you're
Okay.
good.
Great. All right. Well, again, thank you for having me. And I will jump right in. Most of you already know our service territory, but this is just a refresher about how big this area is. We have over 34,000 members, which is actually over 46,000 meters. We mostly serve in La Plata and Archuleta, but we have a little bit of segments in 3 other counties. Again, you know most of this, but a little bit about LPA is we are cooperative. We do have a board of directors governed by locally elected 12-person board. We are the 5th largest of 22 co-ops in Colorado. And we sell quite a bit of electricity, but 95% of our power does come from Tri-State. We are allowed to source 5% of that energy locally. I always like to throw in pictures of our employees just because being a cooperative, we're built on our members, but we're also built on our employees, and they're out all the time working very hard. The upper right picture is right off of Highway 220. It's that realignment where CDOT is realigning the road, and our crews are up there this week, in fact, stringing wire along the new pole. So it's really fun to see that our crews are so dedicated. So getting into the details of La Plata Electric, most of our costs are made up of the cost of power. And that makes up 63.82, to be precise, percent of our annual budget is allocated to purchase power. And as you all know, what I just mentioned, 95% of that does come from Tri-State. So the other component of our budget includes electrical infrastructure, upkeep, fire mitigation. We do a lot with trees in order to make sure that we limb up the trees so they're not hitting the power lines, workers, employees, admin costs, and borrowing costs. So that just gives you a little bit of why the cost of power is so important to La Plata Electric. And I'll get into it a little bit later, but why we are investigating what would it look like to source our power somewhere else? Because again, that cost of power really makes a difference in our budget and our rates. So in 2019, our generation mix, as you can see, and this is all Tri-State's generation mix, but 50% is coal, 25% Tri-State is moved to renewables, 18% natural gas. That 5% sliver that I mentioned that we source is renewables, and then 2% oil or diesel. And so Tri-State did pass a responsible energy plan in order to remove or significantly reduce that 50% coal. It is over a stepwise year, as all of you have probably followed. And so being a part of Tri-State, we are watching to see, okay, is Tri-State going to continue on with their responsible energy plan and meet all those goals that they've set forth? So one thing we hear a lot about, and that's either in the press or just in other venues locally, is aren't renewables more expensive? And we are really trying to do a good job of educating to members that they're not. And there's a lot of data out there. This just shows one source, the declining cost of renewables. So you can see that renewables, solar in particular, and that's the light gray line, I'm sorry, it's a little bit hard to see, has been dramatically declining over the years. The dark color is coal, and then the green is natural gas. That's just one group that's looked at this, and that solar number, which is actually $40 per megawatt hour, is reducing even more. We're actually seeing costs go down to $30 per megawatt hour. So if we updated this, it would even go down further. It's pretty remarkable if you look at that. This is just another source. This is one I just pulled this morning from Free Energy. I'm not familiar with this group, but they are a think tank that collects information. So this data is from Department of Energy, and they're talking about the cost per kilowatt hour. Now there's the top bars are without tax credits and the bottom bars are with, but it still shows you that even without tax credits, wind, solar, they are still cheaper than if you get clean coal, nuclear. Even natural gas is in between there. Now the solar PV, that price point would change depending on the size of the solar facility. So the bigger the solar facility, the cheaper those prices get. So what are our power supply options? I think most of you have seen, but currently we have a 50-year contract with Tri-State. Our local generation is only 5%. And if you look at the energy mix, 70% are fossil fuel based and 30% are renewables. So again, when we look at our power costs, predominantly our rates are where we get our power, where we source it. And 70% of that is fossil fuel based. So what the LPA board did is they gave us guidance. They gave us a vision and they gave us strategic direction on what they wanted us to do. And one of those is definitely local control. So shaping the future by building trustworthy communities, innovation, forward thinking, delivering excellence. Those are all great items to work towards. And so that is in our vision statement that we are working towards for the future. And the board also passed a strategic goal, so sustainability. So we will strive to reduce our carbon by 50% from the 2018 levels by year 2030. And then they also added a component of that to make sure that our power costs are affordable. And so they gave us that 70% metric. So that gave us guidance. And so what that means is that we are looking at our power supply contract with Tri-State. So there's three pronged strategy that the board also passed for us to look at. Number one, pursue more flexibility in our current contract. Now, even before I came to La Plata, staff had been working with Tri-State on this, requesting expansion of the 5%. They did not get anywhere on that, unfortunately. The second option was pursue a partial exit from the current contract. So we did have board members that were involved in the Tri-State Partial Requirements group down in Denver, and it included our staff. And so they've been working for over a year on what that would look like. So what that means is you could buy 50% of your power from Tri-State, and then the other 50% you could locally source and generate on your own or work with third-party providers. So for example, Delta Montrose, the co-op just north of us, as you've read, they have completely left Tri-State, and they're both building a large-scale solar project in their community, but they're buying their power from a third-party group. So we are trying to work on that and see where that's going. So the Tri-State board did pass a partial contract option, but it still has to go to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission for approval. And there's actually a new development. So because Tri-State is a cooperative, they were not regulated by the federal government. Just this last year, Tri-State made some maneuvers to bring on members that would make them FERC regulatory, so make them under federal regulation. And so what that does is it really takes away local control and brings all of our issues to the federal government in Washington, D.C. So this partial requirements contract still has to go to Washington, D.C. to get approved by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So we still have some time on that. The number three is pursue a full exit. So as you know, this one receives the most amount of attention in the press, and that's because we requested a buyout number a while ago and we were denied. So we had to go to the Colorado PUC to ask for that number. But because Tri-State has moved to become federally regulated, we have two court cases, one at the Colorado PUC and one at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. November 9th is this magical date that we should know more from the Colorado PUC on next steps. But right now at the Colorado PUC, the commissioners are addressing the issue is, did Tri-State legally add members to push them into FERC regulation? So if you heard of the word MICO and others, that's what the press and the news are referring to, is did Tri-State act legally in adding these certain cooperative members that are not electricity. They're not the traditional co-op that you would think of. One is actually a greenhouse. And did they add those legally that then would jump them into FERC regulation? There's many groups, including ourselves, that are asking that question and asking the PUC to take that up. So there's still a lot of uncertainty on that, but we are still working towards those three options. And once the staff have gotten concrete information, we bring that to our board of directors. And then at some point, the board will make the choice. So that's, I can pause for questions on that, or I can keep going because my next set of slides is talking about, okay, so that's all the work that we're doing on the power supply contract. And then my next set of slides is really, what are we looking towards with the utility of the future? So Gwen, what would you prefer, me to pause for questions on that section?
Karen, have you seen any questions so far?
No, no questions on that. I think you did a really good job of explaining it, and it sounds like we just have to wait.
Yes,
Why
unfortunately.
don't you go ahead? Yeah, why don't you go ahead, Jessica? And if anybody does have questions about that, go ahead and put them in the chat window now, and then we'll let Jessica address them.
Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about some nice and fun things, right, that we can look forward to, and that's utility of the future. So again, we're thinking through what does this co-op in our community look like? And when I talk about utility of the future, I'm talking about a whole host of items. And I'm sorry, this is a little fuzzy. But when you hear about distributed energy resources, DERs, demand response, utility of the future, we're talking about how do we connect all these things that are happening in our community so that they can work together. And some of those are grid energy storage. Distributed generation is solar. And so that can be in the form of rooftop solar. And it can also be in the form of large scale solar, which is in the bottom right-hand corner. Home energy system, so electric vehicle plugging into your house and then plugging into a battery as well. Biopower was just something I pulled, but there could be hydropower in irrigation canals, small ones. That's just more the other renewable energy that we don't know about or that we haven't investigated. So how do you bring all those together? One thing that I used to work on in the Northwest was how do you take all the excess solar from people's roofs, aggregate it, and use that to dispatch when we actually need energy. And so instead of paying for high-priced energy from Tri-State during the peak time, you know, when people come home at night, like 6 o'clock at night, we could actually use this aggregated solar that's being stored in either hot water heaters or home energy storage systems, and then dispatch out into the grid to meet the demand. Now, obviously, we can't do that right now with our current contract with Tri-State, prohibits us from doing that. But that's what other groups across the US are finding is efficient. Why not use this excess energy, right? And it's renewable. Otherwise, you have to oftentimes dump it. And that's unfortunate, meaning dumping it is you're not able to use it. So that is something that I've really tasked my team to look at La Plata. We did have an internal reorg so that I had a group of people that are specifically focused on the future of power supply and all these items. This is a map that, as you can see, it's changing from 2010, 2014 to 2018. We'll get more updated information. But this is really about solar arrays. And so you can see, again, with the pricing, solar keeps getting cheaper and cheaper. Now, I know the tax incentives are not getting as good, but the thought is that as more market penetration happens and solar gets cheaper, you don't need as many tax incentives, right? So as you can see in the Durango area, it's just starting to really explode. That is really exciting. So as of 2018, and I'm excited to get more details, we've had over 1,200 connected solar arrays, over 8,000 kilowatts in capacity. Now, something that would be really fantastic in the future is lots of people can't build solar on the roofs, either because they rent them, they don't have good solar facing houses, or they're in the trees, or they just can't afford it. And so the answer to that is really building utility scale solar and then creating a community solar garden, right? Where then community members can pay $150 per share of a system. And then depending on their share, they get that credit back on their bill for the generation. So again, we are not able to do that at La Plata unless we receive more flexibility in our contract with Tri-State, because what we could do is we could build our own large scale solar to meet maybe 20 megawatts of our need, not get that from Tri-State, that would be fully solar. And then we could send that out to the community and say, okay, we're gonna do a community share program. So then we get the benefit of allowing our members to join that as well. Another thing we really would love to do more of is electric vehicles. So if you hear about the word beneficial electrification, that is really the future of electric utilities all across the United States, is that we're finding that converting from propane to electric heat pumps actually saves a lot of money for the customer, the members. And it also helps utilities, right? Because we can convert from a propane or gas-fired heating source to an electric one. But the key is also to get that electric energy as clean as possible. So this shows that there are more and more fast charging corridors being built. We've heard that a lot of people do not buy electric vehicles because they're worried about the charging infrastructure. But Colorado has a very robust and aggressive fast charging corridor plan that's underway. And so we are trying to be involved in that. We just built another one in Pagosa. There's one in Durango, Cortez, Silverton. And there's even ones up in Montrose. I know they're working in Telluride. So it's pretty exciting that more and more of these fast charging stations are popping up so that people can feel comfortable to buy these electric vehicles. But again, the benefit of the electric vehicle is also making sure that the energy that you're charging it with is clean. I believe this tax credit is unfortunately gone now, but this was a special rebate program. So there are certain things that Tri-State does help us with, and this is one of those. So we were able to give a rebate of $3,500 off of MSRP. Plus you would get the federal tax credit and the Colorado tax credit. So this is just one of the programs we implemented, but this is a current one. So for residential, we are giving out free level 2 chargers with the purchase of electric vehicle, $500 rebate on wiring costs. So we do get that benefit through Tri-State as well. And then publicly available, sorry, it keeps advancing, on pedestals. So we are still actively working with community groups on how can we help facilitate installing more of these charging stations publicly. I know that the hospitals have a lot, the casinos are installing a lot of these. So that's just something else that La Plata is really trying to facilitate, is that work. I don't have heat pumps in here. This is the next one, it's energy storage. While electric heat pump is not actually considered energy storage, it's a way for us to convert both gas, heat, and propane and all electric that's very old into a way more efficient electric heating source that also provides summer cooling. And we haven't been robust on electric heat pumps here in our area, La Plata or Archuleta, because there was some research that showed they don't work well in cold climates and some high altitudes. But EPRI, which is a national energy research laboratory, has been researching them, and they have another heat pump that is a phase 2, and they do work in high altitude and cold weather. So it's actually fantastic that they've done that, and we have acquired all the research from EPRI, and we're working with Department of Energy and others to see, okay, can we develop a program where we can promote the change of these other heating sources to way more efficient heating sources that also provide summer cooling. Now energy storage, again, we look at grid enabled water heaters. We do have a lot of electric thermal storage in our service territory. And of course, we'd really like to research and develop on batteries. They are very expensive right now, I think, as most people know. But you know, the more that people use batteries across the US, the prices continue to drop. So as long as we're following those trends and watching that, that'll be important for La Plata to look at in the future. One other thing about this that I did want to mention is that we are now modeling how much capacity do we have to bring in renewables? And it looks like max renewables that we could take on today would be 50 megawatts. So if our load is 150 megawatts, 50 megawatts would not equal that 50 from the 100. So I want to make it clear that when you install a solar project, and let's say it produces 100 megawatts, you only get about, I don't even want to say right now, but for wind, it's a 1/3, right? So it's less than what you actually build the site for. So I'm saying that is because 50 megawatts is still a big amount for La Plata. But if we're going to go anything beyond 50 megawatts, we really need to invest more in some type of battery storage. Because it is still intermittent, which means that it doesn't produce at night, so you have to have backup power. And the backup power today is only in the form of coal, gas, hydropower, nuclear, or battery storage. And as you can tell, many of those are not actually attractive, except for batteries, but they're expensive. So this is my second to last slide. I just wanted to alert people that we are having some LPA town hall meetings. They will be virtual. So those show up District 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all around October 20th through the 29th. And our board of directors in each district will be facilitating those, which is great. We'll have staff do a presentation that goes into a little bit more detail than I did on the power supply contract in particular. So we'd really encourage as many of you to attend as possible. And then our board members in each district will be answering questions. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Excellent. I would like to announce that Matt put in the chat, Matt Salka is the former mayor of Bayfield, and he said wants to thank Jessica for receiving a grant to have an electric vehicle charge station installed at the town hall in Bayfield. So thanks very much.
Yes.
And we do have a question. Lisa Ray is asking, can Jessica give more details on the staff reorg?
Sure. So when I started, I met with all the staff one-on-one, so over 100 employees. I spent personal time with all of them to understand their jobs, what they'd like to see. I really feel that people on the front line know better than most of us how an organization can run effectively. And also from just my experience of how to get certain work done, it makes sense to build a company based on how do we support the membership. And so what I did is I moved and created a group called Utility of the Future. And that does include Dan Harms, if people know him. He's in charge of that group, but it includes our engineers who are really thinking through voltage regulation, solar penetration, making sure that we have fiber communications. They're also the ones looking at how do we build and promote more electric vehicle programs, heat pumps. And then the other group, I made sure that the different divisions were organized in a way where if a customer or member came in, they would have a sense of completion for a project. So for example, when someone came in to do an interconnection or they wanted to do a solar project, they would go to one staff and get passed on and on and on and on. So what we've created is a seamless process where we have one person following people through the entire process, or we're working towards that, so that at the very end of the day, they only have one person they need to call instead of multiple people, and that's to get their projects done. So again, it's really following projects from beginning to the very end. I hope that provides more information.
I wonder if Lissa was talking also about the election of the board, but I don't know. She didn't tape anything more, so. I have a question myself about, I have an electric vehicle, and I know they can be used as a source of a battery. I mean, they have a huge battery. They're just sitting out there in the parking lot. So how is the technology coming where you can plug the car back into the house to give back some energy?
Yeah, it's a great question. That's called vehicle to grid. So if anyone hears V2G, and what that is it's definitely where you have a electric vehicle where you plug it into a battery and you can charge up the battery from your car battery. And there's there's obviously different mechanisms in the car and the battery that facilitate the flow back and forth between the car and the battery. I was working on a project 2 years ago in the Northwest on this exact technology, and we found that hardly anyone was working on this right now. The issue that were running up against is that many of the car manufacturers were not, they were not giving the insurance for the car battery or the car. They were defunding those if you did this because they didn't know what draining and charging the car would do to the car. So I'm sure they're working on that because that is a technology that would be very helpful, right? So one thing that we're looking at is school buses, right? So you use school buses during peak time, so you're discharging that energy, and maybe you don't use it all, and so you can plug the school buses back into the grid and drain the school bus batteries, which are very big, to use during peak times. So night at 6 o'clock when the buses are just sitting there in the yard. So that's definitely something that lots of groups are researching. I don't see it really coming commercial or viable for a few more years. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. One thing I would like you to comment on, Jessica, is the sort of the legal situation with the PUC and FERC. And I know that, legal strategy has to be discussed by the board in executive session, but could you give us a little more information about, where we are relative to the PUC and particularly with respect to the attempt to show that the new members of Tri-State were not added legally?
Coming in?
Yeah, I'll say what I can. Like I mentioned, there was a request of the PUC by a few of us utilities to re-examine the legality of Tri-State adding these members. So that request is into the Colorado PUC for examination. So we are still waiting to see if the PUC will take up that. And we do have a new PUC member as of this year who actually was a board member of Holy Cross, so a cooperative. So they're familiar with that, which is helpful. We won't know more until November though. So we do not know if they're going to take up this decision or not, about do they feel that they do want to investigate the legality of Tri-State adding these members. At FERC is a federal entity, so they are a little bit slower right now. And so we are not sure right now what they have to do is they are looking at Tri-State's wholesale electric rates. They're looking at the partial contract methodology, and Tri-State is saying, here is our full buyout methodology that we think FERC should look at. Now we disagree with that methodology because it is based off of futuristic assumptions for 30 years, which as we all know, no one would have assumed a pandemic would have happened. So why would you base a buyout off of a 30-year estimate in the future? That's a real simply put explanation from me, but at FERC, they still have to have hearings. So they are constantly having hearings where they're gathering information and they're hearing from all sides as to position statements and details. So while many cooperatives like ourselves are involved in the FERC process, there's also groups like the Sierra Club, Western Resource Advocates, many other entities across the US that have said, we would like to be involved in this as well. And that's because this has not really happened in the US. Most public power entities would never want to go to FERC regulation. And that's because we're governed by a board of directors that are elected by the people. So if you think about it, now the people's voice is really taken out of the mix by going to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, because it's a commission that is put in place by Congress and by the president. And whoever the president is that's sitting, he gets more whatever his party is. So right now there's more Republicans that sit on the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and the chair is a Republican. And so it is very partisan. So if you think about it, a lot of the policies that come out of FERC are policy and politically driven. So right now it is a very slow process at FERC, and there's hundreds of people, parties involved in the proceedings, and they have technical conferences. And those are the ones that I'm talking about, where the board, the commission, and the staff hear technical details and arguments. And then at some point, FERC will have to hold public sessions and hear from attorneys, opposing attorneys, and so forth. It's similar to a courtroom, and then come out with a decision. But that's not likely to happen for another year.
Okay, and I think I would encourage people to attend those town hall meetings that are happening in each district. As she said, there'll be the directors from those districts will be there, and they can answer questions, and we'll have more time than Jessica has right now. I don't see any other questions. Karen, do you see anything more? Okay, well, we'd really like to thank Jessica for taking time out of her busy schedule and letting us know what's going on at LPEA. And I would, again, encourage everybody to be involved, because it really is your co-op. It belongs to the members. So let's give Jessica a big virtual hand for appearing with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and I just wanted to echo what Gwen said. It's really important for us to hear your voices. So thank you for those that do join the board meetings and comment. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, we have another speaker. In fact, we're going to have two speakers. They're going to talk about the same thing. First one is Monique DiGiorgio. She is the executive director of the Local First Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that works to build an economy that values people, the planet, and prosperity for everyone. She was instrumental in forming the Southwest Health Alliance that acts as a committee of the foundation. Bringing together individuals of differing perspectives to find common ground has been at the heart of many of the projects she has catalyzed across the West. This is exemplified in her role in founding the Chama Peak Land Alliance, a nonprofit organization of private and private land stewards in Durango's backyard, conserving open space, clean water, and abundant wildlife. She's also co-owner of Table to Farm Compost, Durango's only curbside compost pickup business in Plata County. Monique holds a BS in biology from the University of Notre Dame and brings a science-based perspective to much of her work. And helping Monique out will be Nan Penzreuter. She and her husband have been residents of Durango since 2005, hailing originally from Indiana. She's worked in the health insurance industry for her entire career, primarily in the pricing, actuarial, and underwriting fields for insurance carriers and integrated healthcare systems, such as the Mayo Clinic. She first learned of the Southwest Health Alliance about a year ago through Local First, and she was excited to join the advisory board as an individual volunteer contributor. And just for full openness here, I am on the steering committee of the Southwest Health Alliance. So let's welcome both Monique and Nan.
Thanks so much, Gwen. Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about the Southwest Health Alliance. We have some exciting updates. And as it turns out, healthcare was the thing that brought Nan and I together, and then we realized we went to the same alma mater, Notre Dame. So it's been fun to get to know the healthcare industry. It's not something in particular that I ever thought I'd be personally working on, and we have some really exciting news to share. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see the PowerPoint. And it's always helpful to just start with a little bit of history. Just wanted to remind folks that I'm the managing director of Local First and the executive director of Local First Foundation. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today really had its origins with a partnership between Local First and the Durango Network, because we were hearing from the business community that healthcare costs were just extraordinarily challenging for the business community. So we started looking at ways that we could tackle what is, you know, a pretty big issue. And I think over a 2 or 3 year period, we've made some great progress. Right now, the Southwest Health Alliance is a volunteer-led committee, as Nan mentioned, and its home is at Local First Foundation. And we have partnered with Peak Health Alliance on all of the work that you'll be hearing about today. We could not do this without Peak Health Alliance. So I'm going to start with the good news, and I'm just going to give you a very kind of basic overview, because Nan is going to get into the details when I'm done with the first half of the slide deck. But in short, the good news is that for the last 2.5 years, we've been working to provide some price relief to the community, as well as Jessica mentioned in terms of energy and the electric cooperative having that community voice in the middle of healthcare. And we can say that we made it to the top. We're going to be able to explain to you today how we were able to achieve our work. And in general, even though the Division of Insurance has not finalized rates yet, we feel comfortable in saying that on average, it looks like by having the Southwest Health Alliance disrupt the marketplace and come into healthcare, bringing that accountability that the community brings to this issue, we have seen premiums across the board drop by 35% this year, which is staggering. I think that we had hoped for 5 to 10%. So we're feeling really good about that. Now that of course is on average. It depends on, you know, you as an individual, what plans that you've had, you know, comparing what you want in the future, your age, that kind of thing. But these are just on average, some of what we're seeing. And that by having Southwest Health Alliance in the marketplace, we've really seen those rates go down across the board. But what we're going to encourage you to do today is make sure that you shop local and look at what the Southwest Health Alliance has to offer in particular. Nan will tell you more about that. So I want to start big picture, because a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is about the specific plan that you'll be able to see in the healthcare marketplace. But as a reminder, the Southwest Health Alliance really started more broadly to not only look at providing this locally crafted, community-driven ACA compliant plan, which is what we're going to talk about today, but to overall look at healthcare, look at health literacy is a big priority for the Southwest Health Alliance, and to look at other value-added options in the self-funded marketplace. That will be hopefully phase 2 in 2021 and 2022, and really to uphold the community values. And those values, we start with them for every presentation, which is that we are looking for a local solution to this issue. We're looking to have the community's voice on this issue, and the local self-reliance that we see by making sure we support local independent healthcare practitioners and businesses means we can minimize the leakage in the healthcare industry that's leaving our community. And that's really what Local First is all about. So when we entered the field of healthcare, we realized how relevant the term shop local was to healthcare. So that part's been kind of exciting for us. The other thing we've done is bring accountability into the system. I'm going to explain that in a couple slides. Education, health literacy, and always data-driven approach. Everything that you're going to hear about today has been a process of looking at the data in the 4-county region. We're not going to go into that data today because we could talk for an hour, but please know that that's an important value. Just wanted to give a shout out to the steering committee. These are all volunteers. I'm not going to go through every single name, but we can provide this list, or you can go to our website. But it really is a community-driven initiative. And we've worked long and hard with the healthcare practitioners, the La Plata County Medical Society. Peak Health also has a provider advisory committee. So one thing I get asked is, you know, are you making sure to get the input from the healthcare practitioners in the community? And we are. So right now, in terms of geography and scope, the Southwest Health Alliance represents 4 counties, and the plan that Nan is going to be talking about is available in La Plata, San Juan, Dolores, and Montezuma counties. Peak Health Alliance, which started in Summit County and is the model that we found when we were doing our focus groups and work, works additionally in Grand Lake and Summit County. And Peak Health Alliance is the official health insurance purchasing cooperative. Southwest Health Alliance is an organizing arm, a local community-driven body that makes decisions here, but it is Peak Health Alliance that is the purchasing cooperative. And that's an important piece because a lot of what you're gonna see today is branding around Southwest Health Alliance here in our region. But again, that's as the local community arm. Peak is not an insurance company, so they're not a carrier, they're not bearing risk. And we mentioned that actuarial data is at the core of the decisions that we make, and we bring that data into the healthcare system. And it's precisely that data that requires and kind of pushes the accountability and transparency, because we're able to sit down with all of the pieces of the healthcare system and say, well, the community is seeing this, you know, how can we work together to bring price relief and bring locally crafted plans to the community. All of those healthcare pieces stay there. Brokers and consultants are used in their traditional role. And our goal is to really bring that community voice in without making the system any more complicated or changing the system per se. Traditionally, the way healthcare works, as you can see here, is the consumer is at the very end of a long line of decisions that are made generally behind closed doors. And so I think, I'll speak personally, not being a healthcare expert, I can barely, Nan is the healthcare expert. I know enough to be dangerous at this point, but I can say as an individual, I feel, you know, very unempowered around healthcare. You know, it's confusing, I don't understand it. I don't understand how I can make a difference. Well, working on the Southwest Health Alliance, I started to see these pieces of the puzzle where hospitals and carriers are working behind the scenes and the community is not necessarily a part of that. And so what Peak Health Alliance has done is be able to place the community, that's us, Southwest Health Alliance, in the middle of all of these working parts. So we get to have that discussion straight with the hospital about, you know, how do we bring price relief to the region? We get to work directly with the local healthcare practitioners, make sure that the community's voice is there. And then we also work directly with the carriers so that at every step along the way, that community voice is in there. And we see results as in having that community voice be integrated. So these 2 slides our steering committee put together, and it's really exciting to say that over a 2-year period, these are the things that we've accomplished. We have seen, as I mentioned earlier, that insurance premiums, you're going to see them coming down across the board. And that's for open enrollment that's starting in November for plans that take place in 2021. Nan's going to tell you all about that. We were able to bring a new carrier into the marketplace, that's Bright Health. And so you'll see Southwest Health Alliance is working directly with Bright Health. They're the carrier. They are bearing that risk, right? They're your traditional insurance company. We are not playing that role. However, the plan that they put together has our fingerprints on it because they worked with us and Peak Health Alliance to craft it locally for our 4 corners and 4-county region. We've branded it Southwest Health Alliance. If you're up in Summit County, you would see Peak Health Alliance. So just please know that while Peak is that actual purchasing cooperative and our partner, you're going to see their logo a lot. The Southwest Health Alliance is going to be on the insurance cards and in the marketplace so that you understand that's that local plan for the 4-county region here. And the plans are comprehensive and the same kind of insurance that you would be used to buying. And Nan will tell you more about that. We also were very, very, let's say, strong in our opinion and values that we have an inclusive network, that any local practitioner that wanted to work with us could, and that both of our hospitals here, both Ash and Mercy, be in the network. And we're really pleased to say that that's the case. And along the way, it's the case, you know, mostly because of the community standing up for what it believed in, and also because of that transparency and accountability. So you can now shop local for healthcare. So I'll pause there because I think Nan is going to get into a lot of the details that might bring up some questions, but if there are questions right now, I'm happy to answer them and Nan will finish up the presentation. And I'll do the slides for you, Nan.
Me
So.
too. Oh, great. So we have 6 or 7 more slides here, just to kind of let everyone know kind of where we are in the presentation. So I get to share the great news that was the result of all of this work that we've been doing, which has been, you know, almost 2 years, really. I mean, I've just been involved a little over a year, but this is the most exciting. And I can tell you, by working in the healthcare insurance field my entire career, I honestly have never seen anything like this. And when I show you the slides with the rates, those are like rates that I've seen, you know, 8-9 years ago. It's that exciting. So commend the entire group, and then all the providers, the brokers, the groups, we worked with the chamber, everyone that we've worked with. So thank you to all of you as well. So the really cool thing is that we're going to have multiple plan designs, and these will be typical, like, for those of you that know of Affordable Care Act, the ACA plan designs. So they're called bronze, silver, gold. Those are the ones that maybe some of you are insured with them now. So what we've done with those plan designs is we've actually enhanced quite a few of those benefits, and this was from feedback. So we actually will have some plans that will have a $0 deductible. Now that doesn't mean it's totally free. It just means that those first dollar expenses, there'll be a couple products, I believe, that actually have a $0, and then there's a cost share after that. We've got unlimited primary care and specialty care visits. So this gets to the whole, you know, thought of wellness and keeping us healthy so that we're not a sick healthcare system. You know, what can we do to keep everyone healthy with that? And certainly, like, the primary care and access to specialty care is very important with that. So you're going to see flat dollar copays and some lower ones there. And then we've got some flat dollar costs. So thinking about transparency, right? Like, what does an MRI cost? What's this lab test going to cost? What about an X-ray? So we have plans that will help you with your budgeting so that you will actually see and can expect what those costs will be. And then, of course, with any of these plan designs, we always talk about like a trade-off. And what that means is that some of you will actually probably want or be more attracted to plans with like lower copays versus like a more catastrophic plan. So we just wanted to let you know that we actually have various plan designs that run that whole gambit. And we do have an HSA plan. That one's going to be offered off the marketplace, so not on Colorado Connect, but we do have one of those as well. Okay, advance, please. Whoops, backwards. So this is one item actually for services that we actually heard pretty strongly in the community. Peak did as well when they rolled out earlier this year. But we're really proud of this. We actually have what we're calling enhanced mental health benefits. So we wanted to have mental health providers actually in our network. And so we've really expanded that, and that's what you're going to find. And we know that mental health is more important than ever, especially during this year. So you're going to see copays for some of those services, very low ones, not subject to deductibles. So again, this is one we're really proud of, and the local providers, mental health providers, I think we're very pleased with us, you know, working with them, and we're trying to cut down the hassle factor as they're, you know, small business owners as well. And we wanted to make sure that we actually had them all inclusive in the network. Not all of them will be in, but you can check to see who is in. We publish that. Okay, this is the Holy Grail slide right here. So a couple things, the top lines, the blue, these are preliminary rates, okay? So you can see down there, a little caveat, really important footnote, is that these are pending final approval with the Colorado Division of Insurance. Also, the plan designs are as well. We expect to have approval in the next week or two. Certainly it will be by November 1, because that's when open enrollment starts. But this is just a sampling of the types of just extreme reductions that we've been able to, you know, to work through together here. So just to put a label on this, the lowest cost bronze, silver, and gold, those columns, those are one rate that's representative of a 40-year-old non-tobacco user. So you can see, I honestly, I did not think we would see any premium that started with a 2, unless it was like 2,000. So we have rates that are, you know, we'll definitely have options probably less than 200 for certain like ages. And this is age rated, so there's a variance there. We put the other, you know, competitors down there, Friday, Anthem, and Rocky Mountain. They're in our area now. So some of you might even have coverages with them. And so this is just a really good notice that you'll definitely want to look at Bright SWA plans, Southwest Health Alliance plans this year, because you can see some of the savings there. You know, most of this, you know, as Monique mentioned, I mean, we're seeing, you know, upwards of 30% savings. And these numbers that we're looking at here, honestly, these are numbers that are more attuned to, you know, 5-6 years ago, like in a normal market. So, you know, that's incredible, an incredible result. And so how does this work? Where do you find this? So this, we just showed you just like a snippet, although it's not, you know, loaded yet in Connect for Health, but that's our local Colorado healthcare exchange. This is where the ACA products are found. Also, your broker can certainly help you through this to navigate how to get access to these. What we wanted to point out here is that you're going to see the logos. And also, we usually find that the lowest cost plan is listed on the first page of the exchange. So when you go out there and you actually put in a zip code and, you know, kind of your area, available products will actually pop up, and you'll put your age in there. So what you're going to see is you will see Bright Health, that is the carrier, as Monique mentioned. And they're not a new company, they're new to our area, but just, you know, they've been around for, you know, more than several years. And we're actually working with a team out of Denver. So that's who we work with closely, out of Denver, and they're out of Minnesota, I believe. Southwest Health Alliance, you'll see our brand there as well. So that's what you want to look for. And then you'll see what all the plan options are. Okay, this part is really exciting. So this looks like it's a terrible acronym, right? ICHRA is how we pronounce this, and it stands for, and I always say the wrong one, individual coverage, HRA. What that is a mechanism for a group to actually offer these products, and they do it through an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement. So this is really cool because this product could actually help out our businesses as well. And the way it works is that the employer would choose a defined contribution. It's tax-free, and they would put that money into an account. So for example, they might put $300 into account for each of their employees, and then the employees get to access that money, and they can use that employer contribution to actually purchase their own coverage. And whichever one of these plans best fits their needs. So it offers a lot of flexibility. And also with some of those rates, I can tell you, those premiums are going to be a lot lower than probably some existing group premiums. Did you want to give a couple examples, Monique, of the ones, or want me to?
Yeah, I would love to. So we worked with a couple organizations, one nonprofit, one for-profit, to just get a sense of the impact that this individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement could have on our community. And the nonprofit that had 6 employees, if they looked at some of these plans that Nan mentioned, could save almost $10,000 over the year. And then the for-profit that had, you know, many more employees, I think it was something around 30, saved about $36,000 over the year. So we're starting to see like an economies of scale. So with each employee where you're saving 100 or whatever that amount is, you know, the business community is going to start to see some we hope some pretty extraordinary savings that'll add up. And so Nan can talk more about this, but the first thing that you would want to do is talk to a broker. If you don't have one, we have preferred brokers that know a lot about what we've been up to and can help to give you a sense of if this could be right for you. Just in the few little test runs that we've thrown out, it looks like it could be pretty extraordinary savings. And of course, that would all depend on the census and how many employees that you have, but so far it's looking like it could be pretty dramatic cost savings.
Yep, just a couple other things. So we've got, so we have open enrollment November 1. It goes through January 15, and you can get with your broker now. We've been doing outreach to our local brokers, and if you look on the Peak Health website, actually they have a list of preferred brokers, and what that means is that they've gone through some extra training on ICRA to help those small businesses or even large businesses, and also the products and just more about what Peak and Southwest Health Alliance have done together. Connect for Health Colorado, that's the exchange that's going to open up on November 1. You can see the products available today, but you won't see ours out there until November 1. And I'm particularly working directly with our brokers, helping with that outreach. So I've met with several of them. And I would say to any of you that if you have any questions, you absolutely could get with your broker, but you also can contact me directly or Monique. And on the next slide, actually want to give a shout out to all of all of these entities actually contributed and helped us with this. And basically monetary contributions with all of this. So we definitely wanted to recognize all of these entities. Thank you so much. And I think our last is there's our contact information. So feel free to get in touch with either one. We did a presentation with the chamber earlier today, and I've already got 6 outreaches from there with some questions. So we'll follow up with all of those and get you connected and get you to help with a broker, or we'll get you directly help, say with Peak, or I'll even help you. I'm not a broker, but I will absolutely help you. Alrighty, thank you.
And I would take Nan up on her offer, by the way. She's really knowledgeable and very humble. And so if she's willing to take your call, it could be very worth your while to reach out.
Oh, thank you. We couldn't have done this without Monique. I mean, you've done a tremendous job. Thank you. And our whole committee.
Yeah, the steering committee is pretty amazing. So I'll send the PDF of those slides to Gwen, and you're welcome to share it with the group.
Thank you.
And I did have one final, hopefully y'all can see this. So these words have probably never come out of any of your mouths ever, but I hope that they will. I hope that you can say this.
I like the handwritten note. I never thought I personally would be excited about health insurance, and I guess I kind of am now, I have to admit.
Thank you.
So Karen, do we have any questions?
There's no real questions. Tim Wheeler mentioned how wonderful it is. This is the first real opportunity to shop local for health insurance, and it's less expensive, a real win-win for our community. So he says, thank you to Local First. So if you guys haven't got the chat open, you can get a lot of information there. On the bottom of your screen, if you roll over chat, it'll open up. And I wanted to announce a little blurb I put in there about how you can help with the election. Go to the laplatadem's.org website. There's a lot of options, and then there's a phone number in there you can call. So ballots are coming out this Friday, so you should have them this weekend. Let's see.
Before everybody leaves, I'm gonna give Matt and Marcia 1 minute each, so that they can kind of tell you what's going on with their campaigns. And I know they are both in pretty tough campaigns. So Matt, do you want to start?
Sure, I can do that, and I'll keep it real short, sweet, and simple. Thank you all for coming to this event, this meeting. It was actually really great hearing from Jessica as well as Nan and Michelle. I'm very grateful for all your hard work, because as a person with health issues in my family, this is a huge deal. So thank you. For my campaign, Matt Salka, running for County Commissioner District 3. Thank you all for your donations. I see very familiar faces, so I appreciate all your help. What I'm looking for right now is still more donations, obviously, but really to help get my name out there, to let people know that you can vote for 2 commissioners, and that's myself and Marcia. We have an event this Saturday. Marcia, I'll beat you to it. Sorry about that. But we have an event on Saturday for a food drive for all. We will be in Durango in the morning. In the middle of the day, we'll be in Bayfield at the grocery store. And in the afternoon, we'll be in Ignacio at the El High building. All of our websites have that information, as well as on Facebook. We have a Facebook event that's you've probably been seeing since it's getting sponsored. But again, thank you all for your support, and vote early, and please turn it in right away. Thank you.
Okay, Marcia?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm sorry I don't have my camera on. I'm getting presentable later in the day prior to the League of Women Voters Forum, and right now I look like I've just been on a hike, which is true. Thank you. I first of all want to thank the speakers. It is so exciting to have hope when it comes to a cleaner energy future in healthcare. These are big, giant problems, and so exciting to see these local things we can do. When we have federal gridlock happening, this local action is more important than ever. So exciting. And I want to thank the local Democrats. I know you're out doing a giant lit drop this weekend. Thank you. I'm with Matt with our campaigns. We're running against unaffiliated candidates. That's very unique for La Plata County. And we need y'all out there talking this up and telling your neighbors about our campaigns. I'm doing phone banks on Sunday and Monday nights if you want to give an hour, not asking for your whole life here. I know you're working for a lot of candidates. So I'm having that them at my house, and you can also do them remotely. I see Sherrod Beal is here, and she's supporting our volunteers working. But whichever candidate you're working for, whether it's Barbara or Governor Hickenlooper or whoever you're working for, Diane Mitch Bush, Matt, I just think our work is so crucial. And in county commissioner races, we can make a big difference. So we need to keep these seats. Gwen and Julie have done a wonderful job. They are mentors. I think I don't mean to speak for you, Matt, but I think they're mentors to both Matt and I. And we need to keep the seats, and it's going to take a lot of work because Matt and Charlie have a very compelling argument, which is, do you hate polarization and do you hate the parties? So do we. Vote for us. It's very simple. And so we're working very hard, and I'm looking around the screen and seeing people that have donated and worked, and I just appreciate it. Gonna run hard to the finish line. Thank you.
And it might be worth noting on the county commissioner races that in 2019, the Republican chair of the Republican Party in La Plata County was quoted as saying that there's no way the Republicans can win countywide races anymore, which sounds good to me. But if you look at the voting database, the voter database, both Charlie Minkler and Jack Turner changed their registration to unaffiliated. One, I believe it was on August the 24th of last year, and the other on August the 25th of last year. So if you don't think that these are conservatives running as independents rather than Republicans because they know they can't win as Republicans, you really, that's what's going on. So we really need to support both both of our candidates in this race, and let people know that, while these people may be running as independents or unaffiliated, they're conservatives. So we appreciate the speakers today. Next month, we will have Morgan Carroll, who is the chair of the Colorado State Democratic Party. This will not be on the first Tuesday of November because that's a special day. I believe it's either the next Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll get some information out to you, but she will be joining us remotely and talking about the election results and how we did across the state and that sort of thing. So we thank everybody. We'll send out a link to the recording, and I will see if I can get the slide decks available to people that want them. So thanks for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Gwen and everybody.
Thank you all.
Good day.